everyone, it's Jonathan, and today I'm joined by my friends Katie Fabrick and Jenna West, and we're talking about the Disneyland ride slash short film slash Michael Jackson music video, Captain EO. I originally recorded this episode partially because Captain EO had been on my watch list for ages, but it also came back into relevance in 2024 because it had been teased that the, at the time, still upcoming Star Wars show Skeleton Crew was going to have elements inspired by Captain EO. And once I saw the trailer for that, I decided that now was the time. As it turned out, the elements from Captain EO and Skeleton Crew, beyond one very obvious creature, were not that extensive, but I'm still glad we covered this thing, and that I thought to ask Jenna to join us for this. As I've mentioned before, she works at Disneyland and is a huge Disney history buff, and even though the ride is no longer there, she still has a lot of insider knowledge that Katie and I wouldn't have had otherwise. So this is weirdly something I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Not that I've ever actually seen this, I just knew it existed, and I'd seen some stills and clips, and I thought it looked bizarre. Like I couldn't believe that this is something that existed. And then I finally watched it for the podcast, and I was like, this is even more bizarre than I thought it was.
It's peak 80s.
It really
Yeah.
is.
In the 80s was a time period where a lot of things wouldn't have otherwise happened that happened. Like, so do you guys, Katie, have you had any experience with Captain EO before this?
I had heard about it and I watched it a long time ago, but it had been a while since I had watched it. Like whatever clips I could find floating around on the internet and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
but as for familiarity with the story and stuff, I only found out about it recently. So, like all the history and stuff.
Okay. But it's because I guess that makes me the one with the most experience with Captain EO, and I'm actually not that experienced myself. Just besides, I grew up going to Disneyland, and I actually remember the original Captain EO experience. As a child, I was very confused. Um, I loved the Moonwalker as a kid, so my dad was like, "It's like Moonwalker," and I was just like, "I don't understand. This is overwhelming." Because I don't know if you guys are aware, it's like a 4D. It was a 4D film, so there was like stuff going on in the theater. Um,
Hmm.
and I
Oh, that
think it
makes
was
sense. I wondered how
yeah,
it translated into a ride.
yeah. So like just jumping right into it, I guess. I actually looked it up because I remember stuff happening, but not everything. Wait, I wrote it down because it was interesting. So there's lasers, obviously, smoke, quote unquote asteroids. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Maybe asteroid like props, I guess. Laser impacts. Also, I don't know what that means. And a star field. And I kind of remember the laser and the laser impacts and the smoke. And I think it was just really overwhelming to me as a kid because I didn't want to go back to that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I like patently refused to go on it. And I only went back in that movie theater again when it was Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. But that's interesting. After it went away in 1998, it was really hard to watch it again. Like the internet obviously wasn't a thing at that time. And then that long time period where it was also like, home video wasn't really that great at the time it was a thing. So if anybody did record it, it would have looked bad. So it's kind of interesting that it was kind of a lost piece of media, kind of in a general public sort of way. And then 2009, Michael Jackson died, and a lot of people were bad, people kind of shifted their attitudes about Michael Jackson, and they were asking Disney, bring back Captain EO. Like there was petition for it, and Disney, very secret, like they did a viewing in the Magic Eye Theater at Disneyland. And initially, apparently, their official excuse was it was so that his family could see it one last time, but it was also because they wanted to see if it would hold up to being seen again. And then they decided, actually, yeah, sure. So they did open it back up again, but they called it a tribute. It was called Captain EO Tribute. because they didn't want to put in the original effects. So they use
Mm.
the Honey I Shrunk the Audience effects, which includes water sprayers and leg ticklers. Um, and yeah, yeah. This sounds absolutely nuts if you're not familiar with Honey I Shrunk the Audience. Which are either of you guys familiar with Honey I Shrunk the Audience?
No, I don't know.
No.
I've heard the name, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So after Captain EO, especially, I'm going to speak from Disneyland perspective, even though this one opened up a few days first at Walt Disney World. I'm just not familiar with the Walt Disney World theater where this happened. But at Disneyland, interest was strong for the first few years, and then it started dying out, and then it was just empty. Nobody was interested, and that's just kind of what happens to movie rides, especially that are aging. Interestingly, I believe Walt Disney World actually got rid of their Captain EO first for Honey I Shrunk the Audience in 1984, and that's based off the hit movie at the time, Honey I Shrunk the Kids. A huge franchise that nobody talks about anymore.
My family was obsessed with that movie growing up. We borrowed the tape from the library all the time.
It's so weird. It seemed like everybody was obsessed. And now we just forget it was a thing.
Yeah.
I actually never watched it as a kid. I finally watched it like a year or so ago, and it's actually pretty good. I don't know why we kind of forget it happened.
I
Um,
haven't seen it since I was
yeah,
a kid, so it's nice to know that it holds up. You can't always trust that your childhood memories hold up with movies sometimes.
yeah, I'm glad to give you that validation. It does hold up. I think the problem with the franchise though is they started going off on the sequels, and then in the parks they did this whole Imagination Corporation thing, which is really weird because it was like a juxtaposition of a corporation and imagination rolled into one. And I think it was as a theme park person, it was just too dissonant from what I would want as a theme park experience. It famously ruined Journey to Imagination, the ride. But anyway, stepping back, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience is you literally get shrunk as an audience, and there are portions of the show where actually it was a really well done show. I remember being really impressed at the time. So there's like shakers under the audience floor because at one point one of the kids picks you up and like moves you around, and it feels like you're being moved around. And at one point, the dog sneezes on you, so that's why there's water sprayers. Uh, and I'm trying to remember what the ticklers are from. I can't remember, but there was a point in the show where there was also a reason for you to get tickled. Someone might sound off in the comments like that was this silly. It's like okay, I can't remember everything. um, so they just use those same effects. So when Hooter sneezes, it's water, which great, thank you, love that. And um, and when the Whip Warriors come out, they have the leg tickler, which I remember experiencing that during the tribute, and I was just like, I don't, why would you do this? And they use the floor shaking just for like the bass, and it's kind of obnoxious to be honest, because it was like the whole time during the ending of the film.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that's like kind of the context of watching it in the theme park.
So do we know how a copy made its way online? Because if it hadn't been on YouTube, I wouldn't have been able to watch it.
They actually did air it on MTV at some point.
Oh.
However, as far as I know, a recording of that hasn't surfaced. It looks like the one online is a recording of the Scream that got remastered somehow. There has
Hmm.
never been an official release, which is weird. Just release it? I don't understand.
Yeah, just put it on Disney Plus at this point.
Yeah, like, what's the issue? I don't know, maybe copyright, because it is kind of like a situation with a lot of fingers and pies.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I don't want to take over the podcast. So if you guys want to jump in with anything else you want to say, how did it translate seeing this film not in 3D and not without these special effects? Were there any parts that were kind of weird to you, like out of context?
For me, I thought it seemed just like a weird 80s short and then music video.
Mm,
Like it was very strange because I don't know why, but I did not expect it to turn into a music video. I knew it was a sci-fi short, and I just thought it was going to be a weird thing with a bunch of aliens with Michael Jackson. I don't know why it did not even cross my mind that it was going to be a musical until the music started happening. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's true.
But the only indication that I had of what might have been part of the ride was like the explosions and things flying at the screen. I was like, well, this probably was like a 3D experience somehow.
Yeah. Like watching it in 2D for me was just kind of like, this is probably obnoxious if you're not familiar with how it's supposed to be. Like with the little fuzzball character going around everywhere too. The very beginning with The Rock, I think would be bizarre. I'm kind of surprised you guys didn't say anything about The Rock at the beginning. You're just staring at the spinning asteroid, and it's
Yeah.
why?
I just assumed it was there because it was supposed to be like a 3D thing.
Yes, it was. Yeah, so the idea was The Rock was in 3D, and reading that there was a laser effect, like impact effect, I think had something to do with the asteroid as well. So I guess it would have been more impressive. Um, but when you're just watching it, you're just like, yeah, that's a rock. We're just watching a rock. Okay. Rock star. Uh,
Most of the stuff that maybe is confusing or cheesy, I just wrote it off as it being a thing from the 80s that somebody probably thought was cool back then. And oh well, it's not that cool now, but it's interesting to watch, at least for me. So, as far as like not translating from ride to screen, I suppose, but nothing stood out to me as like an unpleasant experience or I did totally
hmm,
didn't understand it.
Yeah. Like there was obvious like wow, this is really cool early like 3D moments, but
hmm.
honestly, it did just kind of feel like it felt very much like Thriller, which um, I think that was what Michael Jackson was inherently going for.
Yeah,
Learning
it's
a little
space
bit about it.
thriller.
Yeah, it's space thriller.
So one thing that's really interesting about this was it was directed by Francis Ford Coppola,
I saw
which
that popped up
yeah,
in the credits and my jaw dropped. I was like, what?
yeah, who also was involved in writing it with Rusty Lemonade. I don't know who that is, to be honest. And George Lucas.
Yeah,
The George Lucas connection is ultimately the reason why I finally decided I needed to make this episode happen because of a show that's coming out. We can come back to that. You can finish your story, but the
Yeah,
George Lucas connection I knew. The Francis Ford Coppola I did not know.
yeah. I just find the George Lucas part interesting with this like Star Wars connection, which I guess will now be official.
I think they're going for that now,
Yeah,
but I don't know if that was the thought back then. Well, Disney didn't own Star Wars at that point, so I'm sure there wasn't.
yeah.
But yeah, the names of the people behind this confused me with how big of a name some of them were. Like Francis Ford Coppola. How did that happen?
I'm actually not sure. There was a documentary that I forgot to watch it, or I don't even know if it's online. It used to air before, like outside the theater on these little TV screens, like kind of while you're waiting.
Oh, I
So
read something about that, but I didn't
yeah,
find it. I didn't look that hard for it.
it's possible nobody recorded it. I don't know. Man, I tell you, 2015-ish or 2014, no, 2014. This, so I guess a bit of theme park explanation, at least from a Disneyland perspective. I can't speak for Disney World. So originally, this was an area called Space Theater, and it was like an amphitheater. And then when they decided they were going to do this, they put up like walls in the ceiling, and an indoor theater environment, and they called it the Magic Eye Theater, which I still call it that, but technically it's the Tomorrowland Theater now.
Did it have anything to do with the Magic Eye art that was so popular when I was a kid?
I
Like
don't know,
you'd like cross your
maybe,
eyes and like try and make a 3D image appear. I was never very
yeah,
successful with that.
maybe. Um, I think I'm trying to remember when Star Tours became a thing because George Lucas and Disney were getting very involved at that time. Let me just really quick look up when Star Tours happened.
I'm pretty sure they happened like around the same
Before,
time.
yeah. like just before this. So they had a working relationship, I guess you could say.
Was it just before this originally, or just before this when it was revived?
Okay, so the Star Tours opened at Disneyland 1987.
Really? It goes back
Yeah.
that far?
Oh yeah, Star Tours, yeah. The original Star Tours, not the Adventures Continue version. So it sounds like probably Disney might have already been courting George Lucas for a Star Wars connection, and this came up in the process.
Huh.
But at that time, the Tomorrowland was becoming really dated. Like we had New Tomorrowland in the 60s, and it just kind of throughout the 70s, it just got more and more dated. So I think they were looking at ways to refresh Tomorrowland, and somehow this happened. Right before this too, they actually experimented with the space, like an actual space band called Halix, and they played on the theater that this theater used to be, and that was in 1981.
Hmm.
And Star Wars came out in 1977. So you have kind of progression. Star Wars, Disney kind of experiments with the space band idea. Somehow they want to get more involved with George Lucas in general, and the space band idea comes about again. But they decide to do it with Michael Jackson as a film, and then they finally do Star Tours. So it's I don't know. There's kind of progression here. I think is interesting. I suppose
Yeah.
because it was Imagineering's idea apparently, Disney Imagineering, to do this space band thing.
I would have just thought it was Michael Jackson's idea because he liked doing weird stuff.
He did.
This seems like something he would pitch to somebody. Like, hey, can I do this movie?
It does, but apparently not. She apparently did not come up with it. I don't know who decided to go with him, but he was always like up for working with Disney. He was a Disney adult before that was a thing. He used to like sneak, well, not, I shouldn't say sneak. He used to go into Disneyland, but he'd be in disguise to try to live his life while going on rides and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I'm sure if they approached him, he was like, yes. Another tidbit about Michael Jackson is that he had been trying to approach Disney because he wanted to dance with Mickey Mouse, like not the costume character, like animated Mickey, kind of like who's that actor that danced with Jerry, or not Jerry, the mouse? No, it
I
is
know what you're
Jerry.
talking
Jerry is the
about.
mouse.
Was
Yeah,
it?
Gene Kelly.
I was gonna say Gene Kelly or Fred
Yeah,
Astaire, but I don't remember for sure.
I think it's Gene Kelly. I might get roasted, but I think it's Gene Kelly. He wanted to do that, but with Mickey, which funnily Gene Kelly originally also wanted to dance with Mickey, and he was denied. And I think it was kind of Disney was very hesitant about doing this Mickey Mouse music video. They had done like storyboards exist, but they never like went with it. So I think it was kind of like, okay, we don't really want to do Mickey, but do you want to do this? And he probably said yes because he still wanted to be involved with Disney in some way.
Yeah. I did like so Defunctland has
Yeah.
a video about this,
Mm.
which I watched, and they said that like Michael Jackson made Thriller and he really wanted to make a film with Disney and he kept bothering them about it. And then Disney wanted to make something for Tomorrowland because it was starting to get dated.
Yeah.
And they were like, Michael Jackson, do you want to be part of this? And he said, allegedly, I don't have a source, but he said only if Steven Spielberg or George Lucas is part of it.
Yeah, you're
And
right. You did say that. Yeah.
yeah,
Remember
and
that.
Steven Spielberg was busy, so they got George Lucas because they were already working with him with Star Tours, I believe, was how it all
Yeah,
played.
this is really the pure 80s, all by circumstantial accident. Just
Yeah.
like everything just fell into place to make this. Man, those were the days, weren't they?
So, Katie, if you watched the Defunct Land one, I saw the thumbnail. I should have watched it. Did they say anything about how Francis Ford Coppola became part of this?
I think they mentioned it. There was a lot of this person came on because they knew that person and that person and this person, and so because there was a lot of big names attached to this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like huge makeup artists, huge music people, huge special effects. I will admit that I did not like take notes. But I highly recommend watching the video because I think he does dive into kind of how everything panned out and like how each person was kind of picked. And but
Yeah.
it did really become like a big like coincidence that all these big name people came up and Disney was not happy because it got more and more expensive as the thing went on.
Oh yeah, this was the most expensive film. Like, it took 30 million to produce, which I haven't done the inflation for
Wow.
that, but I'm sure it's nuts. And it was the most expensive film by minute at the time. It was like $1 something per, no, sorry, $1 million per minute because of the 3D process they did. It was cutting edge. But yeah, so you have that, and then you have all these big names getting involved, like, guys, please stop. But also, oh, at the same time, it's gonna be so cool. Maybe I should, yeah, I could totally imagine Disney doing that. Um, Another project, I want another studio I want to bring in, that was involved was Will Vinton Studios. They were huge stop motion people at the time. They did Return to Oz. They did Moonwalker, California Raisins. Michael Jackson had actually worked with them prior on the California Raisins and Moonwalker, obviously. So I think that's probably what he might have suggested bringing them in. And they do beautiful stop motion, just absolutely gorgeous. They also did Adventures in Wonderland. So
Yeah, that
like,
you
oh, I
mentioned Will
really,
Vinton Studios
yeah,
last night, and I was like, why do I know them? I feel like we talked about them on a podcast.
yeah, that was why.
Like, oh yeah, that's the one.
They also did the Adventures of Mark Twain, which nobody watches, but everyone knows the clip of the mysterious stranger with
That's
the
on my
weird.
long list
Yeah,
of animated movies to do for the podcast.
yeah, that's Will Vinton Studios. And they also ended up later experimenting with CGI integrated with live action footage. So they're very prolific. And it's not very much stop motion, but what is there is like, can you imagine how much time it took to do that and how expensive it was?
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
detailed and complicated.
they, like I said, they did beautiful work, and they were great in Return to Oz and Moonwalker, and I'm sure Michael was just like, you gotta have them, like it'll be worth it. Anyway, so that's my favorite tidbit because I don't know, I just think it's so random and cool. Should we? Oh yeah. Also, apparently, I did only discover this last night. The reason why he's called Captain EO is based off Eos, the Greek goddess of dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, wow, that's random.
I did wonder about the title, but I just figured somebody was trying to come up with a spacey sounding name.
And I guess you could say when he leaves the planet, it kind of looks like it might be dawn. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah. And Michael wrote the songs and performed them, of course.
I figured.
They're not my favorite MJ songs.
Apparently, when they showed Disney the like first rough draft, Disney was horrified because they were not expecting Michael Jackson to put as many crotch thrusts in it.
Oh,
And so they cut as many as they could out of the film,
no.
but they had to keep some in. And I find that so it's like you hired Michael Jackson. What did you expect?
Yeah, it is very, what did you expect? Did you even give him any notes? Or anybody from Disney? Was anybody from Disney on set? Or did
Yeah.
they just bankroll it?
That is a good question.
I assume somebody was, and they just assumed they knew who they were hiring. So they're like, okay, Croc shot away. You know, just,
Well, let's talk about the reason that I finally decided that I needed to finally do this podcast. Because the most recent D23, they released the trailer for the new Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew. And suddenly everybody online was talking about Captain EO because there's at least one, but I kind of wonder if there's going to be more. I think there might be at least two in there. Creatures based on the creatures in Captain EO. So I don't know if it's a situation where they're just using Captain EO as inspiration, or if they're now trying to say Captain EO is canon to Star Wars.
I mean, I have seen people say that now. I mean, Captain EO has always been kind of described if Michael Jackson was in the Star Wars universe, which, yeah, I guess. Um, but yeah, a lot of people are saying this makes Captain EO canon adjacent, at least, in Star Wars.
Well, the main one that was in the trailer was the little cat butterfly teddy bear thing.
Fuzzball, I think is the name. Let me look it up in my notes because I wrote notes. Yep, Fuzzball.
And then I kind of wonder if the one named Hooter was the inspiration for one of the main characters, because there's a little elephant child who's one of the main characters. And
Hooter's
uh,
child, and he's just a deadbeat dad.
like everybody had been talking about the character in Skeleton Crew as if he was the same species as Max Rebo, the piano player at Jabba's palace, the blue elephant guy. But then when I saw Captain EO and I saw the creature Hooter, I was like, that kid looks a whole lot more like Hooter than he does Max Rebo. Like
I
the
have no
face is
context. I would have to look at a picture or something.
the face. I'll find some pictures and then share them. The face
Uh,
of Max Rebo looks so different to the kid on Skeleton Crew, but the face of Hooter, even though he doesn't have all of the front-facing nostril things, it still looks a lot closer to him.
he does kind of look like Hooter, except he doesn't have the nostril stuff. Yeah,
So I'm wondering if they took more inspiration from Hooter than from Max Rebo. It'll be interesting once everything is out and official to see if he truly is the same character. Because right now, I don't think there's anything official online as to like direct names of all the species and who's featured here and like character backstories and whatever. We just have pictures. So I kind of wonder if this character is supposed to be more related to Hooter than Max Rebo.
I mean, it might be at least the case. I'm not a Star Wars fan. Let me just preface this. I have absolutely no clue about how any of this would work, but it might turn out that they're the same race or say species, I suppose would be the right term.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But now I'm just curious to finally watch Skeleton Crew, and I'm going to be on the lookout for all of the characters from Captain EO,
It's a
because I just
twist.
wonder if they're going to be taking more inspiration from like the two-headed character who is driving the ship. Like, I wonder if there's going to
Apparently,
be one of
that
those.
creature is called a geek, and one head is called ID, and the other one Odie. It's like, okay, all right, you do you. And then the robot guy was Major Domo with Minor Domo. Why? Why does he have a little man?
Probably somebody just had a weird sci-fi idea and was like, I want one robot that can go inside the other robot. And then they made it.
I guess. And then obviously Hooter, which, oh my God, I think Hooter is the most said word in this entire short.
He kept yelling at him all the time.
Hooter! Come on, Hooter! Hooter! It's like, please stop saying his name. It's distressing me. And he is useless, just completely useless.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But I don't really like any of the characters in this, to be honest.
I I can't say I did either. I think I enjoyed this more out of just watching it.
Curiosity.
Yeah, just watching it to see like what is this thing?
I also, to be honest, I think the way it opens, so it opens with the spaceship crew and not Michael's not there yet. I mean Captain EO, sorry, excuse me. Um, so it's well, I don't know, maybe his name is Captain Michael EO. You don't know. But anyway, and it's just like all the characters like interacting, and I guess it's supposed to give us the feel of the atmosphere and vibe and the chemistry between these characters, but all I want is for it to end and and for Captain EO to come on screen because he's, I don't know, more entertaining to watch than these characters. I guess Fuzzball might be my favorite, but he's like the most inoffensive one.
I was gonna say it's kind of a low bar to figure out a favorite because they're all just kind of mildly annoying, if not directly annoying.
And to be honest, Fuzzball, I feel like is more annoying in the theater because they use him a lot as a wow, 3D, he's floating in front of you kind of, thing.
I could tell,
And
especially towards the end, it was like, yeah, you know, this is going to be 3D if you're watching at the park.
yeah, so fun tidbit, Disneyland cast members made a parody called Captain Eeyore, which is online, and it's probably all I should say much about it. But so they have characters replacing their Disney characters replacing the characters of Captain EO. But one thing that's really funny is they replace Fuzzball with the like a little bee, and when he has his intro, and the bee's like in front of Captain Eeyore, he just smacks it out of the way, which is like, yeah, I always did try to smack Fuzzball out of the way. Just 3D, But yeah, so that's the appeal of Fuzzball. You just kind of want to reach over and smack him, but lovingly, little hit. Get out of the way.
I bet that thing is going to become a new merch that's everywhere after Skeleton Crew comes out. It's going to be all over the parks. You won't be able to get away from it.
I think out of all the merch, because sometimes they have tried Captain EO merch. Out of all of it, Fuzzball and Hooter do the best, I think, for merch opportunities. Everyone else is kind of, mm. So Fuzzball, I'm sure, will probably be the most popular.
So that Captain Eeyore thing, where did that come from? Like you said, cast members made it, but it wasn't official, was it?
No, it was meant for like if I understood this correctly, it was kind of a party thing that they would host and they would do like a video every year.
Oh,
This used
okay,
to
I get
be,
it.
yeah, it used to be a lot more common back then, and it went up to like the 2000s. And Captain Eeyore was probably like one of the better ones, so it got like copied around the cast member circle and taken home. As at the time, Disney was just like, yeah, whatever. What are you gonna do? Post it on something that doesn't exist yet? And technically, I think it did, but it wasn't internet like the what we know today. And it stopped in like in the 2000s when YouTube started becoming a thing. From what I understand, they told when they did they still kept doing these kind of videos, but they told characters it could absolutely never get out on the internet. But then one did, and they started like shutting down this kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
it's no longer you make a parody like this, or if they do, it's way. I have seen clips of like little things that they film, but they're way more tame and it's company controlled. It's not in cast member hands anymore,
Hmm.
which is kind of sad. But yeah, if you haven't seen Captain Eeyore, I highly recommend it. To be honest, I think it's really funny and I like it more than Captain EO.
I'll try to remember to put the link you sent me into the
Yeah,
description so people can find it.
I think what's fun about Captain Eeyore is that, remember that there was no way to watch this besides going in the theater and watching it. And they mimic so many of the shots and all the dance moves and everything. Like clearly they had to watch a Captain EO a lot to do this. And so it's really fun in that sense of like, wow, what dedication.
Yeah, really. Because I could tell that a lot of the shots were like spot on.
Yeah. And then, I do have another fun tidbit from a custodial side of, I don't remember this anecdote very well, but I've heard it. So apparently at the time, Captain EO when it first opened, it used to get like long lines, which is hard for me to believe now, but it did. And the theater would get absolutely trashed. So the custodial lead at the time would gather like everyone up in the land, like, it's a run. We got to do a Captain EO run. And they just, as quick as they could, because the way the attraction is set up is you have somebody watching the show, they leave the show, and as they're leaving, the new set of people comes in. And there'd be set times throughout the day when they wouldn't let them come in to do like these runs of custodians frantically going through the seats and getting trash. All the custodians they could get to be as quick as possible so the next batch could come in. It sounded nuts.
That sounds very unpleasant.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Probably was a lot of popcorn and stuff. But yeah, so just the, I don't know, fun operational tidbit, I guess, of how this would have operated. And I'm sure it was the same at Walt Disney World in terms of having to clean up the theater in between shows somehow.
Oh, that was going to be another question I asked. Was it played at both parks?
Oh yeah, both. Well, it was actually played all around the world. It was at Disneyland Paris as well and Tokyo Disneyland.
Okay.
They closed at various times, and I wouldn't be able to tell you like when one closed. I think Disneyland Paris was technically the last one to close their Captain EO for good. So the tribute, quote unquote tribute one was 2009 to 2015, and I think they were the ones to stop in 2015. Also, another fun tidbit, apparently it was filmed the entire time they did the tribute. And I heard from someone who worked that attraction that they did digitize it, but then they decided to just take it out because people weren't seeing it anymore.
Hmm.
So it is digitized
In the Disney vault.
in the vault. Well, going back to the story, I also, anybody else get like Power Rangers vibes from the Commander dude?
Oh yeah.
I was kind of getting Power Rangers vibes from a lot of things in this.
I'm not a Power Rangers fan, to be honest. I think my cousin was more into it than I was.
I watched it some when I was really little.
Yeah, it's like you look like the dude they talk to. No idea what that is or what his name is, but you look like him. It's interesting. It's kind of like a hologram, and they're able to block his eyes.
That was another thing that was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's the 80s. This
Yeah,
makes no sense, but whatever.
in the Captain Eeyore version, I think they put tape over his eyes.
Yeah.
And also, I noticed Michael Jackson, when he just like talks normally, he makes a lot of kind of like vocalizations. That's a lot like how he sings his vocalizations. I can't remember exact one, but I was just like, man, he might as well be singing right now. Like, woo! Like he did that at some point or something.
I'm not super familiar with Michael Jackson, so I don't really know how much of this was him being a character and how much of this was him being himself. I just kind of assumed it was him being himself because he was just kind of an eccentric guy.
My knowledge of Michael Jackson starts and stops at Moonwalker, and that is pretty much it. And Thriller.
Mine was mainly from the music video from Free Willy because we borrowed that tape from the library a lot.
That's a pretty obscure way to know him.
Well, we
Do
didn't
you
have
have a,
cable. We just mainly watched PBS and borrowed movies from the library. So I guess you got to find out about it some way. Mine was Free Willy.
did you have any previous connection to Michael Jackson before this, Katie?
Um, I've heard some of his songs. I haven't seen any of his movies, or I've seen a couple of music videos. I think the thing that like I heard the most about Michael Jackson growing up was I heard,
The stuff.
yeah, but I think
Yeah.
Weird Al's parodies
Oh,
is what
really?
I heard
Oh, yeah.
first.
He did do a lot of parodies, and now I'm forgetting what they were called. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Eat It.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, what was it called?
I probably knew Eat It more than I knew Beat It. I don't know
But
why, but I know I heard it was probably Radio Disney actually. We
oh,
listened to
really?
Radio Disney once we figured out that was a thing. That was probably where I heard because they played Weird Al. So that's probably where I heard Eat It
Did you know
the
Radio
most.
Disney briefly broadcasted from Disneyland across from where Captain EO is or was?
Huh.
So that's fun.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go on a tangent. I say going on a tangent.
We could talk about it later because I think one of these days we're going to do a Disney Mania episode. So we can talk
Oh
about Radio Disney at that
yeah.
point.
All right, you're on. I will. Um, so I'll save the one other little tidbit for that. But yeah, I loved Moonwalker when I was a kid. But Moonwalker is really weird. It explains a lot about me now. when I watched it again. And
I
but
don't even know what it is. I know the name because I've seen it in his IMDb, but I don't know what the movie is.
I recommend watching it at least once in your life because it's an experience.
Okay.
But anyway, but Moonwalker, he's very much a character. And I don't know, I guess that's just kind of how Michael Jackson was as an actor slash character. You just, it's just kind of him all throughout. You can't really cut a boundary in between who he was as a person, who he is like depicting. It's
Hmm.
really difficult. It's kind of all blurred. Even when he was playing himself, which Captain EO is essentially himself, let's be real. It's just
Yeah.
him. It's just Michael Jackson in a spaceship. Maybe some Michael Jackson fans will be like, no, actually, he is putting on a character. It's like, okay, but it doesn't look like it to me. And I guess the only other note I wrote about the story is I think it's really funny that in the context of a theme park show that the Supreme Leader says she's going to turn them into trash cans. Um,
I thought that was a very weirdly specific threat.
line. Yeah. I thought that was weird when I was a guest, but now like I'm kind of like, oh, maybe they were being kind of on the nose about it being a theme park. I do not want a Hooter trash can.
We didn't really talk much about the Supreme Leader yet. It was Angelica Houston.
Oh yeah,
She looked like she was some sort of a Doctor Who creature, but designed by H.R. Geiger.
yeah. It's she looks nuts,
Yeah,
but she's really good at it though. Like she just kind of commits.
she really did. That
Yeah,
was a bizarre character, but the whole thing was bizarre, so she fit right in.
yeah. Like she understood the assignment and she just went for it. It's is the only way I think something like this works is if you just
Yeah,
go full into it.
you can't go into a movie about a guy with magic powers to turn monsters into backup dancers and not fully
Through
commit.
song, through song, yeah.
As weird as it was at the beginning, it just kept getting weirder. And then when it turned into the whole music video and him having those powers, I was like, what is this?
Oh yeah. It's not really explained, but I always assumed the music amplifies his powers. By the
I
way,
mean,
one of
yeah, but like,
the
where
things
does
I have
the
of watching this as a kid is him using his powers and that like behind the scenes shot of like his legs extending. It's like I remember that like the clearest thing of all. And I guess it's just because I was like, this is weird.
just feels like who thought of this and where did these powers come from? Not that it needs an explanation. It's just it's just such a bizarre idea.
I guess the instruments like his band members play give him power too. It's
I'm
never
talking
explained.
about like ultimately, like because like
Yeah.
in science fiction, like powers come from somewhere where they like get zapped by something and it amplifies their strength or whatever. But this the powers are so specific. He's like shooting these beams that turn monsters into backup dancers.
See, I grew up watching Moonwalker. I don't question it. Michael Jackson has powers. I think if you just watch Moonwalker, it would all be explained.
Okay.
I'm kidding. But no, I actually never even thought of it like, how does he get powers in this universe? How does this universe work?
I always think about stuff like that way too much.
This is a job for him. He goes around like corrupt planets and transforms them through song, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. Also, can I just say Whip Warrior's a little scary?
Another thing that seemed like a weird Doctor Who reject.
Yeah, kind of. I feel like it's a little intense for a theme park attraction, but it was the 80s.
Yeah.
It was a time, I guess. And then
Mhm.
that was okay.
Well, for a
But I
while,
thought,
didn't they have something based on the movie Alien?
yes, my boyfriend actually went to that as a kid and he was traumatized. Um, and meanwhile, I just go, "You're so lucky you got to go on that." Yeah, that was extraterrestrial. It wasn't technically based off Alien because they couldn't get the franchise to work with them on that, but it was very heavily inspired and it did have dripping blood. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think doesn't Disney like the company technically own the franchise now, so they could do it again.
They could, but they learned their lesson because that went horrifically. I don't know how much of a tangent you want to go on, but it was put in the Magic Kingdom Park, which is supposed to be the wholesome family park of the mall, and in Tomorrowland. And initially, it didn't come with any warnings. Eventually, they put in like signs, and the cast members were supposed to discourage families with young children, but it didn't always work. Case in point, my boyfriend, his parents brought him in as a young child, um, and it straps you in, and stuff happens. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, I recommend looking it up. But yeah, it's a ride.
Or it
That
was. It doesn't exist
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Ironically, that was a transformation of the Mission to Mars theater, which Mission to Mars was right next to Captain EO in Disneyland, and that opened. It's all connected. But anyway, yeah, theme parks can get a little scary sometimes.
Apparently.
But actually, there is an interesting rumor lately. Um, how scary can something get before it's considered too scary for Disney? Because evidently they're talking about, I don't know if you guys have any experience with Haunted Mansion at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been there. I don't know anything beyond like little pictures and clips I've seen.
Okay, then I'll try not to spoil it too much, but Katie knows apparently.
Yeah.
The opening, there is something that implies someone commits suicide. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And it's kind of funny because I feel like from the 60s up till now, we never really gave it a much more of a glance. But I guess some people are now looking at it and being like, that could be offensive and really scary. And meanwhile, I'm just like, don't take it away from me. Like, don't do this to me. It's only a rumor, but I think that it's gonna. But anyway, it's like, how far is too far? Where's the limit? But I'm okay with that. But I feel like Whip Warriors is a little much. So obviously, my priorities are mixed up.
Everyone has their own thing.
Evidently, apparently. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about the story itself.
The story was not that deep.
It's 17 minutes, not much to write home about.
Yeah, basically he goes on a mission to give a present to this alien queen witch and turns all of her goons and then herself into backup dancers, and that's how he saved the universe, I guess. I don't know.
Well, not the universe, but this planet, I think. I think his mission is to go along to these like bad, quote unquote, bad planets and transform them through the power of music into loving utopia societies. However, there is, I think, kind of an implication here is that he goes along to like kind of gentrify different planets. Your aesthetic is not my aesthetic, so it must go.
He destroyed the whip warrior culture.
Who are we to judge? They're happy. Did I break you? But I do think it's kind of interesting because we don't really hear about like whether the supreme leader is planning to, take over other planets or anything. I don't remember anything like that.
His mission was to give her a gift.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like everything was confusing, but I chalked it all up to it being the 80s and it being weird. So then it didn't bother me like it would if this was something they made today.
Obviously we're not supposed to think about it like that.
No,
Um,
probably not.
yeah. It's just supposed to be a silly little story. But yeah, I am kind of like, if you really want to think about it, like, who are they hurting? You know, if this was the full mo length movie, you'd probably go a bit more into why he must go in and give them this gift, because otherwise things will happen, or maybe people are suffering.
Hmm.
Maybe the whip warriors don't want to be whip warriors, stuff like that. Maybe they all want to be pretty people dancing. Maybe that's what they want,
Maybe
but we
we're
don't know
thinking
that.
about it all wrong. Maybe they weren't actually whip warriors. Maybe he wasn't, maybe his powers isn't to turn them into backup dancers. Maybe that's their original form. And maybe he broke some sort of a spell.
Yeah, that might be it too. It might be that the witch invaded something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of they kind of keep it vague with the gift thing, and I kind of get why they do that. But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of context would have been nice.
Yeah.
Um, but it's supposed to be a surprise. I don't know. It's 17 minutes. What do I want? And we get two songs out of it, though. To be honest, they're okay. They're not my favorite.
They're not memorable enough for me to even have them playing in my head right now.
We are here to change the world. Change the world. Woo-hoo. Yeah. And I don't even remember the lyrics of the last one. Something about Dawn of a New Day, I guess, which ties in with his name. Dun, 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 dun. I remember the melody, Brighter Days, something. It was good that I changed you essentially because things will go better now. Yeah. Bye. They're not his best songs. They're not bad. They're just mid. Yeah. So that's my review of Captain EO. Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's a little hard for me as someone who grew up in the 90s to be able to appreciate how cutting edge this was at the time, especially since I was a spoiled brat and I experienced 4D shows growing up pretty frequently. Whereas, like at the time, this would have been absolutely cutting edge technology and brand new. And Michael Jackson was obviously at his peak. So I'm sure it was really, really cool when it opened.
I'm sure it was, because he was a
Yeah.
big deal at the time.
Well, I mean, just look at all these movie greats who participated.
Yeah,
And I'm sure Michael Jackson was thrilled to be part of Disneyland history.
of course, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know if Disney was thrilled with the price, but it did. Captain EO was pretty popular for quite a few years, so it did bring people into the park.
I mean, even if it wasn't that great, if it was still there, if I were to ever go, I would go. Just
I
because
mean,
I would want to experience it.
it's kind of funny though, because it's a unique experience that you still cannot see at home very well. The video on YouTube is great for what it is, but it's not an official piece of media, and you can't watch it in 3D.
Yeah.
To watch it the way it was intended with 3D, you have to be in one of the theaters to watch it.
Hmm.
But now you can't. But we've done it twice where it goes on for way too long. Nobody wants to see it anymore. So everyone wants to see it. Then it's like, yay, it's here. Now I'm bored of it. Bye. And then it goes away. People are like, man, I missed that. I want to see it again. Great. All right, I'm bored now. Bye. It's just, but there's no way to see it now in the way it's intended, not even with 3D. So it's interesting. It's like, in a way, it's not lost media, it's a lost experience.
Mm.
Because even when it was brought back, it was not brought back the way it was intended to be seen. Man, is there a lost experiences wiki? That would be interesting.
That probably would get really long because people would put all sorts of things that they will never be able to experience.
Yeah, that is kind of like I could think of a lot of events that I could think of as lost experience events. And I can imagine some people would just be like, one time there was a karaoke night at my bar that I didn't go to. But anyway, anybody else have any more thoughts about Captain Neo?
I have one last little fun fact is when they did the recording, Michael Jackson's voice was so soft and quiet, they actually were considering dubbing it
What?
because he was so quiet that it was hard to like sound mix it,
Oh.
but they felt bad, so they didn't tell him that they were considering it and then they just left it.
I did think when I was watching it that he was kind of quiet, but I just figured, well, that's what he sounded like, so
Yeah,
they just went with it.
they were either gonna have him re-record it or they were gonna try to like pitch his voice deeper.
Oh wow, that would have been weird.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
want to tell him, so they gave up on that idea.
It's kind of weird to even consider that though, because I mean he is a pop star. He was a soft boy.
His voice is so recognizable that if they had changed it in any way, everyone
People
would
would
have
have
known.
recognized it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck, I would say that might have even backfired on Mike a little bit of people like, why are you pretending they have a deeper voice.
Mm,
Just like,
yeah.
what? No, I'm glad they didn't do that because I think that would have made it worse. But yeah, he definitely does speak weirdly quiet in this. You can still hear him. So, especially when he says, Hooter.
The many, many times he says Hooter.
You can make a compilation. Hooter, Hooter.
That sounds like something that someone would do.
Michael Jackson fans, where is your Hooter compilation? Just saying. But anyway, yeah, so I'm glad they didn't do that. Thanks for sharing that tidbit. I didn't know that.
Well, I think that's probably all we have to say about Captain EO. We've already talked for like 5 times as long as this short was,
Yay,
or at least 4 times.
content.
I mean, it's a really interesting piece of Disney history. It's always been on my list of things that I should talk about one day, so I'm glad to finally check this one off the list.
I'm glad to have come in last minute. It was fun.
Well, I'm glad that I mentioned it because I don't like of course I know that you work at Disneyland. I don't know why it didn't even cross my mind to bring this up before now. Because
To be
like of course
fair,
you should have some knowledge of Captain EO.
it did close before I started working there, so
That's probably
maybe,
why I didn't think of it because like when I think of you there now, I mostly just think of what already exists, and this is something that
yeah.
was so long ago that it never crossed my mind to even talk about it to you.
But I'm a nerd, so I was aware of it when it was here and seen it and stuff. I saw it quite a few times actually. Somewhere I have a button from the tribute. Oh my gosh, I have Captain EO merch.
Well, I'm glad it worked out because I think this became a whole lot more interesting with all of your insider knowledge.
Yeah, of course, and it was fun to talk about it with people,
And
especially
we would have never known about Captain Eeyore if I hadn't mentioned it to you, because I would never have found that.
you're welcome. I just want to make the blanket statement. Captain Eeyore is available online and I had no part of it. Doesn't mean I can't nudge you over there. But yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a fun video. Revisiting a piece of Disney history slash content that I don't normally do, and it's been a while since I even thought about it, like in a more analytical way.
Yeah. No, I'm glad it came up because I learned more about Captain EO than I ever thought I would.
I'm sure the Defunctland video is really good too. I forgot
Yeah,
to watch.
I definitely need to check that out too.
Defunctland makes great videos.
They do,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, until next time, do you guys want to let people know where they can find you if they would like more from you? Katie
Yeah, you can find me at Katie Draws Things on Instagram. I draw things there sometimes.
and Jenna?
You can find me in the Magic Eye Theater. Um, waiting for this to show. I'm kidding. Okay. I'm still Jancy Phantomwise on YouTube. Or wait, no, I'm Phantomwise. Sorry. And and Love Gift of a Fairy Tale on YouTube.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll see you both back in the future for more obscure Disney stuff.
See you soon.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. All of our links will be in the description below. If you'd like more podcasts like this one, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you'd like to support this show, check out Joncast Media on Patreon for everything here, plus bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.